Just do the intro.
Bakarama. God damn it, Tyler!
Countdown, everyone pause, and then Lucas does the intro.
What do you mean? We have to actually do another countdown? That's stupid.
No, you're fine. Just go. No one say anything, Lucas. No one say anything for
This
5
is the
seconds.
fucking Bakarama podcast, you stupid fucks.
I'm good with that. We can go with that one. Alright, so welcome to Bakarama. My name is Lucas.
I'm
Let's
Dan.
all jump at once.
Alright, this is Cameron.
My name is Tyler.
And I'm Cameron.
God fucking
And
damn
if you
it.
can't tell, we're not in the same fucking room. So.
No, we're not. We are all across.
My name is Tyler.
Yes, we've got you, Tyler.
Yes, we heard you.
Have we put up the first episode?
No.
Have you ever
No.
edited it? No. Okay.
You know what? You know what's about to happen here? I don't know, but shut the fuck up.
Alright,
Anyway.
so, welcome to the Bakarama. We basically talk about anime culture, and why weebs suck.
Well, to be fair, can I, if I could interject, I don't think we've talked once about why weeds suck. In fact,
It's going to come. It will come eventually.
Okay. Eventually, we'll see. Okay.
No. See, the joke is that we're never going to be able to talk about it because we're going to be too busy.
Man,
eating
that's
out.
the joke. Don't pull behind the curtain.
Pay no attention to the
But-
idiots behind the curtain.
But breaking the fourth wall is fun. No.
Alright, so,
No
nope, we're going to skip right over this. Alright, so, one of the things we talked about before was watching Terror in Tokyo, or as everyone else in the world knows it as, Terror in Resonance. I recently marathoned the entire series. It's what, 12 episodes?
Yeah, about that.
yeah,
I think
it's-
11, actually.
Yeah, I think it might actually be an 11 episode show. It was pretty well done. I have to say my one gripe about it is I entirely hated the whoever was the musical director for that show. I hated every song they played on that show.
I'm gonna disagree. I actually liked the intro, but I really liked the outro. Actually, I thought that was
I
good.
liked the outro animation. I just did not like the song.
You didn't like it? I liked the song. I thought it was kind of like, oh, that's not nice. That's good. Yeah.
I felt that they would have they could have better music that would have worked better with it. I saw where they were going with it. Personally, I'm not a fan of that type of music, I guess you could say. So it's really not a big deal.
Fair enough.
But overall, the show was pretty fun. Not fun, but interesting.
Yeah. I liked it. Lucas, could you give a quick synopsis of what you thought it was?
Of what the show's about, or?
Yes.
Basically, it is about two boys who, you learn about it later on, were part of some government project who have basically come back to expose the truth of what went happen behind the doors of this, I think it was the Athena Project?
Something like that.
Yeah, some A.
And they're gonna expose it via terrorism.
Yeah, but in the way that no one dies.
No.
So kind of like Fight Club the movie, and not so much Fight Club the book.
Something.
Yeah, that's close enough. They blow up a government building in the first 2 episodes.
So they blow up a couple buildings. Well, one of them.
Well, the first one is the one where they
yeah.
they bring the girl who is just a random plebeian into the mix, and that was the first act where she made the choice to go along with them versus blowing up in the building.
A high school girl who has a psychotic, overbearing mother and is being bullied at school. An outcast of society meets 2 strange people who she likes. It was interesting. Did you get might sound a bit weird. Did you get a strong 9/11 vibe from the show?
Yeah, basically, the only thing that was about that building that exploded, it was very 9/11-y.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically a Twin Towers building. One side of the tower got blown up.
Yeah.
I got a kind of a lot of kind of Yeah, I definitely got kind of a vibey about it. I was very kind of like, I'm not sure how I feel about that scene.
Well, the intro or the like the opening shot of the second episode is like basically it looked like the rubble of the Twin Towers, where it's the jutting beams up in like a very kind of gothic architecture and rubble, and it's like, oh, okay, interesting. Like I see what they're doing there, but I don't know. I guess what.
And they also did kind of do the whole, hey, the Americans are here. They're kind of doing whatever the fuck they want, including staging their own terrorist activities.
Yeah, that was interesting. That I'm gonna make a joke about 9/11, but I think that was gone wrong.
Let's get off this topic.
Yeah, there's no good can come from this.
No,
Anyway,
let's stay on this topic.
Yeah, so I thought how they ended it was interesting with the result. I thought that was interesting how they used the snook, little pocket nuke. Yeah.
Yeah, the little suitcase nuke. Yeah, I like all of this is spoilers, by the way. We'll have to put this back.
Well,
but,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm just gonna try to not remember anything you guys said because it sounds like a really interesting series, and I would like to actually watch it.
It's on Funimation, so.
Yes, it is. It is interesting. It also the thing I actually liked about it was there were 11 episodes, but it felt like they felt fast paced. It didn't feel like I'm sitting through 20. It didn't drag on. It moved quickly and provided the information you wanted to hear. Yeah.
So absolutely nothing like Attack on Titan.
No, definitely not 25 episodes of Blue Balls. Definitely not.
Yeah. I get that that's a way of storytelling, of dramatic storytelling. But I would rather have to watch an episode several times to get all the information that I need to get out of it than only watch it once and not learn anything.
Fair enough. So actually, I would like to going back to Terror in Tokyo. What did you think of so part of one of the things was it Sphinx?
Yes, Sphinx was the organization. Yes.
Sphinx 2. And they were loading their videos up
YouTube,
on a thinly veiled YouTube. Yeah, my version actually says YouTube.
I want to say mine did too. I want to say it did because I don't think that stuff's like super copyright protected as far as like references.
I'm not sure. I think. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, YouTube, and they mentioned like Bitcoin and shit like that. Some of their stuff was a little sketchy. How it's like they use Bitcoin so they can never be tracked. It's like that. No, that's really not true.
Well, welcome to anime, where you don't actually need to know all the rules of the world.
They put on gloves. We can't find any of their DNA. It's like, not quite. Like, I don't know.
Enhance.
Yeah, exactly.
Zoom in, rotate, enhance.
I found their IP address. It's just the number 4.
Those bastards.
They're at 4, guys.
They're 4chan.
Now I'm editing that out.
Actually, one more thing I noticed with one more interesting thing, a little conspiratorial if I'll go. The thing that built, spoiler alert, the thing that takes down the first building.
Yeah.
A lot of 9/11 references, and then like, oh, interesting. Like both in the structure and the design, and then it's like the common conspiracy theory, like, inside job.
The thermite reaction or whatever they're talking about. Yeah. And then where it activated with the sprinklers and blah 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 science stuff.
That's interesting. Well, to an extent, that's true though. Where if you throw a water bottle in if you throw a water bottle in a pile.
Oh yeah, you get a steam explosion. Yeah, that's.
Oh yeah,
it's a reaction. Yeah,
it can expand like I think it's 400 times. Like it's a huge amount. So it's like
it's the pressure of the liquid turning into a gas in such a high rate of speed that it causes the effect of spreading out like that.
Yeah, I find it interesting that these people are doing terrorism as but we're never hurting anyone, or we're never killing anyone, but you are still injuring people. You're still giving people like PTSD. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's trying to make them more relatable, valiant, whatever.
Well, they're trying to make it to the point where they want attention. They don't actually want to harm. Yeah, they're not out to harm or kill.
Yeah, that's not their primary goal. Their primary goal
Their primary goal is awareness.
One thing I did find interesting was they had the puzzle thing where it's like solve this riddle to find their next bomb, and that was interesting.
Yeah, because they didn't want the bombs to go off. Like they made that clear with the subway scene.
Yeah.
Like their goal ultimately was not to blow shit up. Their goal was just awareness, and so the fact that if they could solve the riddles, that was even better for them. You know, they got the recognition they wanted to without causing any actual damage. That's why, for the most part, like most of the bombs were in relocated areas where there wouldn't be much damage. Also, they were all in areas that were to do with what they were trying to bring attention to as well.
Yeah. Well, actually, can I ask, do you think that they didn't want the bombs to do any damage, or do you think they didn't want the bombs to go? Or do you think they didn't want anyone to get killed, or do you think no damage wanted to be done? Because, like, they seem to have no problem with destroying buildings, but they don't want to kill people. You know what I mean? So,
well, it's one of those things, if they find the bomb, they get just as much attention from the people they want attention from than if the bombs did go off.
Someone's vibrator.
It's my cooling platform for my laptop. The fan's shot in it.
What the fuck is that? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
So I unplugged it, so it'll get a little hot or whatever. Yeah. But no, it's like basically all they want is the police to take them seriously, and they want people to start asking questions and getting in depth, and they basically they want to be caught. They do want to be caught, which is proven by when Sphinx does actually, you know, try and have that press conference that is interrupted.
Yeah. What did you think of the? I don't know. So, the people from America come in and that girl playing games.
Fucking 5 was annoying as shit.
What did you? I thought she was. I thought it was okay. Like I can see it being annoying, but I think it was something which was, to me, it was something where it's like, okay, if you're a little girl and you've had trauma at that age, oftentimes people kind of get kind of trapped at that age mentally. You know what I mean? So like I can kind of see, at least in fantasy or fiction, like what they're going for there. Okay, I get that. They're kind of going with I don't know, a weird kind of like Death Note kind of thing, L, where it's like, L likes sweet things, that's his shtick, and N likes playing with toys, that's his shtick, and her thing is like nursery rhymes.
Yeah, well, her thing really is,
games.
Well, it's not really they were playing games, is she apparently, from what I was able to gather from the show, was never able to beat 1 or 9. She was never able to beat 9 while they were at the academy. Like, so she was always losing to him. So this was her chance to beat him. So that was why she put so much work into the puzzles and the games, so to speak, the challenges, was because she wanted to beat him. That was her whole goal of, I was never able to beat you before, but look at me now, I've beaten you.
Yeah. I am curious, what did you think of the playing chess in the airport thing?
It was interesting. I don't think it made a lot of sense, but
yeah, that's what I was thinking too, where it's like, how do you know what piece is moving where? Like, I get it that they break the airport up into a grid, and each one represents a square and a chessboard. Okay, cool. But like, how do you communicate what piece you're moving?
Yeah, I don't really get that. I don't know what they were meaning by that, because also, if you notice, like, they weren't really moving in chess movements. Like, as far as they weren't regulated how chess pieces have to move.
Unless they're so deep, they're not playing chess, they're just using a chessboard to play a deeper game. You just don't move.
Yeah, I mean, it's, like, I don't even really know how they had planned to win that game, like, even if it was a chessboard. Like, there's no set, area where the king's at. The police security officers weren't moving as pawns, or, it wasn't a feasible chess match. It was just something they slapped a coat of paint on and said it's a chess game. It was interesting, and it was entertaining, definitely, but I don't see it as an actual chess game. No.
What I guess one of the things. What did you think of the whole connection between the super amazing detective who's being held back and that one crime that they could never solve being connected to the ultimate story. Like,
well, it was connected in a way that wasn't connected, so to speak. All it really did was involve the same conspirator. It wasn't really true related to what was going on.
I thought it was something where it's like the guy who committed suicide was one of the guys who worked on the project, and he was going to help them or some shit like that. Like, there's been
he was probably someone who learned about the secret and was going to say something, so he was killed because of it.
Yeah.
So he was probably involved. I don't think the police had any idea at the time, or even then, really, at the end when they found out.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I didn't like was how they I kind of thought that was unnecessary. Where, I don't know, you don't need to connect it to. I don't feel like it needs to be connected to the one case that got.
No,
you know what I mean?
I don't think it needed to be, but it was kind of, in a way, it was kind of a nice touch because it made it more personal for that detective. That was something that he knew was not right, and he was basically punished for going into it. And so it kind of vindicated him in a way, like I knew I was in the right direction type thing. So it wasn't really necessary, but I didn't mind it.
I don't know, but yeah, all right. I liked, what was it? One. What did we do? So we have, let's see, what was the order? So we had the thermite in the building. We had the bombing of the police.
We had the bomb in the house by the shrine that they did find.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We had the actual bombing of the subway
and
system.
then they had the final bomb. Well, technically the airport, but the airport doesn't count.
There's the airport, yeah, there's where a bomb, which isn't theirs, is...
I'm trying not to spoil it for Danny and Tyler.
Well, to be fair, I'm on my cell phone answering other questions. I'm not even listening to you guys.
Yeah. So, I think it's... I do kind of like the idea of, when you release stuff anonymously or under a pseudonym, you have very little control over your material. Where it's something where I remember, started releasing, started releasing, now we're, their own riddles.
Yeah.
Planting their own bombs in the name. I like that, where it's like, no, you lose control of your message when you do something under a pseudonym. When you can't have an open line of communication from either your enemies or just the public at large, how it's I don't know, how anyone can do something and say it's Al-Qaeda. Or, I guess a better one would be the Irish Republic Army, where it's people would steal cars and be like, yeah, this is for the IRA, and the IRA is like,
it's like, what? No.
No, you're just being an ass. Yeah, you're just looking for a reason to do shit.
Well, for that aspect in that episode, I felt they could have released a video and go, yeah, no, not us.
Well, I kind of thought that too, but I guess the idea is who's going to
Well, at the same time, though, if they have an established format, they've never changed their format, why would they suddenly change to text? So I feel with the sudden switch, if it was a sudden switch and then they came out and made a video and go, yeah, whoever the copycat is will find you, and if this is a threat, this is not from us, then I feel that any decent police officer, with half an investigative skill would be able to kind of push them off on that, like, hey, this doesn't seem like them. Which what's his name actually did, but in a lesser extent. My big thing was with the airport, as soon as they turned the plane around and it blew up, why was the Americans completely not suspended from that? Because there was enough actual police officers from Japan in that terminal that they could have attested to that 100% that this was done by them. This needs to be, they need to be out of here. But it was kind of completely brushed off.
Because the higher ups, man, they covered it up.
Well, no, but at that same point, though, at the end of the show, they have to get rid of 9 and 12, or whatever his name is. Yeah, 9 and 12,
that's right, 9 and
because
12.
They know about the airport. Well, no, if they had actually done something then, it wouldn't have come to that. Like, everyone knew about the airport at that point.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, I think it's not. I don't think it was so much they knew about it. It was more they. It sounds like they had hard evidence. Actually, I would like to. I'm interested in if we could before we do that. In between or after the in between the airport and the finale, there's what is it? The whole but 5, 9, and 12 fighting. That was interesting. How like what's her name? Like how it's supposed to be this. Oh, the 5 is supposed to be the ultimate game player. Blah blah blah. Almost never loses, and then she like just kind of dies in a car crash.
Yeah, whatever the fuck that was.
Yeah, she gets injured in a car crash, and then I think she kills herself.
Yeah, she wrecks a car, gas is everywhere, and I think she shoots the ground and goes up in flames.
Yeah, that was it. Yes, and it's like, wait, why? Like, I don't get that. It's like, you beat me, not in a game, but with a hand grenade. Like,
to be fair, I wasn't really watching that part. I was messing on my phone when that was going on, so I kind of looked up and she's like, oh, she's dead. I don't care. Yeah. I don't like you. I don't really care how you died. You died. That's all I know.
But I thought that was kind of stupid. Well, I thought that was kind of stupid, where it's like, haha, I'm the ultimate villain. You need me to leave. Hold on.
Yeah, it's like, hold on, my time's done here.
Yeah, call me plot device. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and
it's just tying up loose ends. I felt.
And she shot the FBI agent just to drive 100 feet and crash.
No, that was the other thing. Yeah, that's enough. We've done too much damage. So she shoots him, and then like comes out, crashes, like, maybe JK, maybe I have done too much.
Fuck it.
Kill self. It's like, all right, really?
Yeah. I don't understand the Ferris wheel part.
Fuck yeah. Okay. Yes. I totally forgot it. The Ferris wheel. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, we can't. Obviously, we're talking about it now.
Yeah, well, it's so almost. I totally forgot about the Ferris wheel. So whole thing is, girl MacGuffin or whatever, convenient plot point, gets kidnapped usually, and she has a suicide vest on and like is stuck on a Ferris wheel. Blah blah blah, and it's gonna blow up at a certain time, but like the weird thing is they gave him like a good amount of time to disarm this bomb.
But I think even though like they gave him enough time, they gave him a lot of time. I think with all the work he had to do, it was still not doable. But
he was making so much.
Yeah, he was, and he just stopped. But
and that's the thing. He just stops, and it's like.
Well, at the same time, like they weren't gonna blow him up. Like I'm pretty sure the bomb was probably a dud. Let's face it.
Maybe, but here's the other thing. Here's the thing that I was confused about, where it's like last few seconds. Oh, in order to save your girlfriend, tell us where the bomb is.
Well, my problem with that is though there was so little development between the two that there was just kind of like, oh yeah, totally, they're totally hot for each other. They're totally gonna betray 9. You know, that's.
I mean, there's a little bit. There's a little bit of a connection. Like I don't know.
I mean, there was, but there really wasn't any like solid or anything to really go off of. It was pretty much just like, yeah, she's kind of cute. We'll keep her around, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm gonna betray everything I stand for. You know.
I mean, I get the point of being too involved, but the thing that really bothered me was. So let's pretend that the bomb. So there's two situations. I see. The bomb she's wearing is real, or the bomb she's wearing is not real, right? If the bomb she's wearing is real, and I think it was 9 or 12? 12, I think. Whatever.
12 was there, yeah.
12. If the bomb is real, and 12 gives the answer of where the bomb is, right? Before it blows up, what's the benefit of turning the bomb off? Right? Like, because you already have the information you need.
Well, because it's the whole thing of he might be lying.
But if he's lying, it's not like, and then took him away to get interrogated. Like, they just let him go.
I'm pretty sure they could find him again. Like,
I guess.
They found her, no problem. They can just find her again and repeat, But like he was let go as part of the deal. We'll let you live if such and such. If you follow the rules.
I appreciate that, but it's also like, why? Like, you have a second left on the bomb counter. What? Like, it actually is worse for your plan if you let him go.
Yeah.
Because then you have someone who can potentially foil your plan.
Well, it's with that whole thing of honor among thieves,
Yeah, whatever. So, okay, so let's look at it this way as a grid. So, bomb's real. He tells her where the bomb is. Okay?
Yeah.
Bomb is real. He doesn't tell her. Would the bomb just blow up then? Because then she's not getting the information.
Well, no, because they made a point of saying that they're not actually going to blow it up. Like, they made a point telling themselves that they're not going to blow it up. 12 obviously didn't know that. But, like, that was the whole point of, they weren't actually going to blow up. They were just going to ride the Ferris wheel around, and then he was going to be arrested or taken into custody.
Yeah.
Whereas, I don't really think the bomb was real for the simple fact that there was no way for them to disarm it remotely.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Well, I mean,
obviously,
radio signal thing. Yeah. But let's look at that. So imagine the bomb's not real. Either he tells her where it is, right, or she doesn't. If he doesn't, then what? The bomb's not going to blow up, right? And it's like, called your bluff. Fuck you.
Well, then when the Ferris wheel comes around, the agents on the ground will just grab him.
Yeah, but then if the bomb is fake and he does tell her, how does she know that? I don't know. There's too many things where it's like, I think it's more just like, can you imagine this cool scene where his bomb's on a Ferris wheel and he has to disarm it and betray his brother-ish character or this girl he loves? I mean, it's something where it sounds good on paper.
Yeah.
But then when you actually step back, it's like, this makes no fucking sense. Like, there's too many ways to either defeat this or you could just give any answer. It's up my ass. The nuke's up my ass. Like,
it's a snook.
Like, how do you? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Hey, it's
or it's a snatch or whatever it is. The fucking.
Yeah. It's got a snook.
Yeah, snizook. That's it. Yeah.
Snooking. Yeah, snooking your sniz.
Yeah, snooking your sniz. Yeah.
Oh my. Yeah. So we have that, and then what is it? Oh, okay. Turns out what they didn't steal was plutonium. They stole a suitcase nuke, which I do kind of like that, where there's this clandestine Japan is. I did actually like that.
Yeah, it was behind the scenes. Japan had built a small nuke,
which violates a lot of sanctions, or not sanctions, but treaties they signed. So that looks awful for Japan if that gets out. Okay, I give them that. That makes sense. I like that. Where it's interesting, it's almost an argument against militarization, but I could be reading too much into that. I was reasonably intoxicated when watching this, by the way. In case, surprise everyone at home. So anyway, okay. So their plan is to blah 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 high altitude detonation of a nuke, a la Metal Gear Solid 2 or.
Was that 2?
High School of the or High School of the Dead, or Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, or
Modern Warfare 2 was an actual nuke, I think, that went off.
Yeah, but that was the point. It was all those things were nukes, but it's high altitude detonation. Okay, I get it. I thought it was really cool when I heard of EMP when I first saw it. And I think I first saw it in Ocean's 11 or some shit like that. Yeah. But now it's kind of used as a bit of a trick.
Well, I mean, for Call of Duty, they didn't high altitude. That was an actual ground nuke. They
did. No, they did. You remember? Yeah, that was the thing where he launches it into space, and you're like, oh, you're a spaceman, and you get.
Oh, that thing. Yeah. I vaguely remember that.
Yeah. You don't remember the story of Call of Duty, whatever the fuck?
I was thinking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1, where it was the nuke in Iraq. Or wherever the fuck it went off.
Oh, yeah. Russia. Anyway, anime. Okay, Lucas.
Yep.
Would you say people should check out Terror in Tokyo, aka Terror Renaissance?
Terror in Resonance. Yeah, I'd say go watch it. It's definitely an interesting trip. Yeah, I'd recommend it.
I would say I enjoyed it. Yeah, check it out. Pretty fast paced. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. There's definitely things that could have done better, but overall I gave it an 8 out of 10. So I
Yeah,
enjoyed
it's
it.
not like a super high rated one for me, but it's definitely not something I don't recommend. It's pretty. It's
Yeah.
a good watch. You're not gonna be disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
All right,
Cool.
so moving on.
I'll definitely check it out at some point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we've spoiled everything in it.
Yeah. Well, why don't you guys discuss the Gits movie? Because I can ask questions about it. Or
We could do that. I mean, it's up to you guys.
Good.
Yeah. So we actually a couple weeks ago went and saw the U.S. theatrical release of the new Ghost in the Shell movie. It's Ghost in the Shell,
Which
the
has
new movie.
it's been titled a number of things, but they finally settled on Ghost in the Shell in a new movie, which we all kind of agree is a shitty title, but whatever.
They pretty much should have called it Ghost in the Shell Arise, the movie.
Yeah, but then that people would be not confused and all of that. So full disclosure, we watched a little bit of like a review on YouTube just to try to refreshen ourselves up for this because it's been a couple weeks since we've seen it, and this particular reviewer was like, he kind of missed the point that the new movie is basically the wrap up of the Ghost in the Shell Arise
OVA series,
the OVA series, or the television series if you want to watch that.
The television series did add 2 new episodes to the Arise OVAs that do fill in the blanks between that and the movie.
In my opinion, the movie made Arise better, because it actually made all of the kind of questions and interesting little intrigue things that you could read into Arise are made into a thing with the movie, and I think that was really cool. I still personally wish that Arise had been a little bit better, because in my personal opinion, as official Ghost in the Shell geek dude, Arise is probably the weakest Ghost in the Shell entry in all of the franchises, but not to say that it's bad, but it's just to say that it isn't as good as everything else.
I haven't seen all of the Ghost in the Shell universe yet, so I can't really make that claim yet. Would you say it's weaker than Innocence? Because I've heard Innocence wasn't as good as the other ones.
Innocence, I've only seen Innocence once, and Innocence is different because obviously the Major is not a major focus of the of that particular movie, but I really would have to watch it again. I mean, definitely Innocence looked really cool and had a lot of cool stuff. It's another one of those. It's kind of like the first movie where you have to watch it a couple times to really get what is going on all the way. At least for me.
Fair enough. I mean, I have the movie, so I can watch it at any time. I just haven't yet.
we should make a point of doing that at some point. But anyway, the new movie is. I kind of feel like that's another thing that I would want to watch a couple times to kind of get everything that was going on, because we kind of sort of formulated a few theories when we were talking about it afterwards, where it's the Ghost in the Shell universe. It's kind of trying to do like it's the same canon but earlier in the story, and it's where people are being cyberized in a sense, but the access to the expansiveness of the net as it's seen in Standalone Complex or even in the first movie is not as there's not as much infrastructure. It's kind of like the Wild West right now. And
actually, sorry, can I ask a question? As someone who has only seen, I've seen the original movies, first 2 movies. I've seen the first season of Standalone Complex.
yeah.
I haven't seen Arise. Is this its own separate universe? Is it officially connected with Arise, or is it just kind of what? What is it?
I would say in what I've seen, I can only speak for what I see. Basically, it seems like Arise and Standalone Complex are kind of separate to the first two movies, but they do pick up a lot of the same canon, a lot of the same thing, but they're almost not connected in a way. At least that's what I see it as.
Okay. I can understand that. So what does this new movie, what is that connected to?
It is basically
Arise.
the final two OVAs of Arise, basically. It was about 2 hours, I think. So it's basically they finished up the TV series with a movie.
So Arise was a TV series?
It was
Arise
an
was made
OVA
into...
series, but it was turned into a TV series.
Okay, shows what. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
on the cutting edge of anime, guys.
Hey, man. Okay, so let's square that away once and for all. There are two versions of Ghost in the Shell Arise. There's the original OVA, which was 4 standalone hour-long OVA episodes, and then there's alternative architecture, which is those 4 OVAs inexplicably chopped up and put into a different order, and then 2 new ones, which would basically make up a 5th OVA movie stacked on the end.
I would recommend watching the OVAs versus the TV show, just because it's really, really good in the long format versus actually being chopped up. Not that I feel anything was missing from it, but I feel it's better to take it all in at one go than break it up.
Yeah. So did they add any filler, or did they really just break it up?
It's literally they went, all right, this show went for 30 minutes, take a chop and go.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they end it on questionably good point.
To be fair, I did not have an issue with where they made the cuts at. I thought they ended the episodes well and started them back up well. So I don't feel they actually lost any footage or made bad cuts. It was just, I prefer watching that type of thing in long format if I can.
Yeah, understandable. So, Tyler, what did you think of this?
Oh, yeah, this movie, I really actually liked Arise. And I really like this movie along with it. I know you two, you two are kind of iffy about this movie, but I was really into it. Standalone Complex, for some reason, it just didn't grab me as much as the series did.
Oh no, I'm not iffy on this movie. This movie was great. I really enjoyed it. It was.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good movie. I'm just.
It was definitely very, very pretty.
Oh, yeah, no, I liked this movie a lot. When we start talking about plot, I do have some notes about this that I'd like to point out. But yeah, I like this movie a lot. If I think they could do pretty good with another series. I think they could fit that in there somehow. It's just kind of running out of space between Makoto and the 501st to the point of the original movie.
Yeah, I would really like to see some kind of backstory on the 501st, because as one of our casual friends who went with us to watch the movie made a valid point, there was a lot of hostility between Motoko and Katsuya, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
The other lady from the 501st. There seemed to be a lot more bad blood between them, at least in the beginning of that episode, that wasn't really explained in the forthcoming OVAs.
They kind of touch on it. We've discussed this. It's made pretty clear that the Major and her commanding officer, who essentially took over after the whole unit's commanding officer was assassinated, that they kind of wanted to go different directions.
They definitely had very different outcomes ahead of them as what they were trying to accomplish with their work.
Yep, the 501st basically, at the end of the day, wanted the 501st to continue being a purely offensive unit and to get all of the benefits that come with that. And Motoko, she wanted a budget and shit like that, but she wanted to be a cop, and she wanted to take her, not be at the whim of whoever's controlling the army at any particular point, whatever.
She wanted to be independent. Interest. That was the main thing. She wanted to be her own unit. She didn't want to have supervision or oversight is what she was really going for. She wanted freedom to be able to do what she needed to do and use her skills the best way that she felt was the best.
Yeah. Which is interesting, I mean, that's kind of the thing that sort of makes Ghost in the Shell, Standalone Complex, and Arise probably in different universes, but they're still trying to connect them, is that they touch a little bit in Standalone Complex on the the work that Motoko and the others did in various army organizations before they came to Section 9.
Oh, like for Arise, Bato was a ranger. He's always been a ranger.
He's always been a ranger, and Saito's always been a sniper of some sort or another.
Yeah.
Like, they have a story of how, like, Saito lost his eye, and basically the Major, like, shoots his eye out.
Yeah, in close combat battle that was actually really cool in Standalone.
Yeah. Yeah, and then she's like, "Hey, come join my unit or whatever it is," and it's like,
well, was that when they joined the unit, or is that just how they knew each other? Because in Arise, she knew all the members from having previously had run-ins with them, I'm assuming. So so to speak, what happened in Standalone Complex just how they made contact?
It's possible. I would honestly have to rewatch the episode.
Yeah, I would need to rewatch it because I don't remember if they actually phrased it and that's when I joined Section 9, or whether it was and that's when I met the Major.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Because
was that first series or second series?
First season, because I have not seen the second season.
Okay, cool. Then I can just look that up at some point.
Yeah, that was first season.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to do. Anyway, so this new movie, it looked really good. It had an interesting. It had a slightly different take on the kind. It wasn't we all kind of get the whole you can ghost hack people. It's supposedly in a time period where ghost hacking is really new, and they still don't
They don't have a lot of safeguards against it.
They have next to no safeguards against it. Right. They're ghost hacking. We didn't think this was possible. I think that's where a lot of the conflict is supposed to be coming out, and it's a little hard to catch on to that, but it's...
Yeah, definitely. One thing before we go too far, I just want to point out the symbolism they were going for with Motoko and then the 501st is Motoko represents the individual, whereas the 501st represents the collective. As you can see in their paths that they were choosing. The 501st was trying to advance the use of prosthetics to gain benefits for everyone, whereas Motoko just really wanted to advance as an individual and not really advance the world, so to speak.
For you, Cameron, another thing, it's that's what I'm talking about when the movie made Arise better, is that they don't really touch in the series on the fact that apparently within this time period, the idea of you being able to just swap your body at any point is not existent. It's not a thing now. People are basically stuck with whatever software package or hardware package that they swap into initially. And it's you can upgrade your parts, but if you're on a frame that doesn't hook up with certain parts, or they discontinue,
you will become obsolete, and there's no choice for you. Yeah, you will go into obsolescence basically, and eventually, when you can't be repaired, you will die out. And that is actually a fairly large thing they were bringing up as far as the military guys in that show who were stuck in the older framework who couldn't move on, were having issues with that.
Well, that's kind of an interesting, I mean, obsolescence. You'd think it'd be building things more modularly.
Well, the problem is with, at least at the point of Arise, it's still very new. The tech's there, but as far as advancements in the tech, it's not there, so to speak. It's an available technology, but it's not perfected.
It sounded like it, and it also sounded like they were kind of going with proprietary protocol kind of explanation, where it's certain companies will only make they'll make the parts only work with their parts and that kind of stuff. There's no universal standard yet.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of Macintosh screws, and you're like, oh, I'm using thunder cable, lightning cable.
Lightning.
I was just trying to look for an excuse to shit on Macs for a second, but I guess it's
And,
not fucking
and you really can't shit
How
on
they-
Macs anymore because most of them have Intel processors, use USB like everyone else. Like,
Well, they're getting rid of most of the USBs in Macs at the moment.
Hey, they don't have regular HDMI ports, as my roommate just found out.
Yep.
that's true, actually. And that is kind of aggravating. I will admit.
How they present it in the movie is like they talk about it where companies own the rights to these certain models of cyber bodies, and when these companies die out, or get taken over, this since it's all proprietary, it just gets lost. Therefore, the people that are using these bodies slowly succumb to obsolescence.
Yeah.
Is basically what it is. So, what are you to do when your ghost kind of stuck in this, cyber body that doesn't have any parts being made for it anymore?
Well, that's funny because it's kind of like certain disabilities, people with multiple sclerosis or something, who kind of like their body is turning against them. But instead of you have a disease, well, in a sense, these people have a disease, but their disease is progress in a sense. Like people are progressing to newer and better things, so they're not supporting your antiquated system.
Yeah, that's basically a lot of it that's happening is basically, we no longer support the model YYYX2. Sucks to be you.
Well, it is interesting to think about because that happens all the time with products here, and it's like, it sucks dick when you I remember buying it was like a video capture card. I bought one and it didn't work on my computer. I was like, fuck. Because you need to update the firmware, and I had Windows 7. And they're like, oh, we're just going to we're not going to make them for Windows 7. And it's like, what the fuck do you mean? I just bought this from your company.
Yeah, but it's not for Windows 7. We have three patches out now. It doesn't work for 7.
Yeah. It's something which is frustrating because, that's frustrating when that happens. But, you get it. It's something like, okay, this company doesn't feel like they can make money. But it's kind of an interesting twist on it when...
Well, to be fair, 7 and 8 use the same code for a lot of stuff, so it really shouldn't be that different. But I digress.
No. I mean, it's interesting to look at it it's not something where it's like, oh, that's inconvenient, you wasted your money. Instead, it's something where it's like, well,
someone's life is actually being made worse because you just don't want to make the parts for this model and that model work together.
Yeah. Essentially, it's a death sentence, a long-term death sentence, but eventually it's like, hey, guess what? Your quality of life from now on is going to go down.
Yeah, well, they even made it a point where there's a couple guys who weren't cyberized really by choice, but by necessity. They had suffered critical wounds in battle, and they were going to die. They needed to be, so they were put into these bodies, out of necessity. And after a while, it's sometimes with when new tech comes out, it's not necessarily that they can't. It's not that they won't back program it to work with the old stuff. Sometimes it's the new techs just, no matter what, there's nothing you can do to make them work with it. They're completely different things. It's like trying to make an apple taste like an orange. It doesn't really work.
That was something that I did notice, is that it didn't feel like they so much had a problem. It wasn't so much that they couldn't. It's just that, or they wouldn't. It was that they couldn't.
The new design of the new bodies were just not. They made a very big point of saying Motoko was the first cyborg that was designed to grow with the person, whereas everything else up until that point was not designed with growth in mind. It was designed to be a finite, thing.
So it was less likely that, I guess, you would be cyberized for the purposes of just wanting to be more powerful. It was more of a thing that they gave to people who were about to die and had no other choice.
I'm sure that was a lot of it. I think it did become to a point where it made more sense to become cyberized. But I think also at the same time, with just the the beginning tech of the cybernetics. It just wasn't there. So when each new advancement came at leaps and bounds, it just left everything else behind it. It just wasn't able to keep up.
Well, and like, it's like, okay, so like we are in the LARP that I'm a part of. I'm working on a cyberpunk realm that's going to be heavily influenced by Ghost in the Shell. And one of the questions that I have been given was, how many people in this world, if you were to have like it be with literally like cyberized and all of that, would there be? And I had to answer, it's kind of like in this world, if like you don't know how to use a computer or don't have access to the internet. It's like there's nothing that says that everyone has to have a cell phone in the law, but if you don't have a cell phone,
you will be at a just very serious disadvantage.
Yeah,
you are seriously disadvantaged by the society. Yeah. And I think that's kind of like, it kind of feels like that's coming to that's the cusp that they're on in the new Ghost in the Shell movie, where it's like everyone's starting to get cyberized or something to that extent. And there's literally like the companies that like they say literally like we don't have the server space to keep up with the people logging in. Like it's like
there's definitely no government oversight. The government is not able to control or oversee what goes on anymore because it just does not have the capacity to do so.
Yeah, the user base is outgrowing the capacity of the infrastructure at an alarming rate. And that's when, that's obviously when Firestarter or the Firestarter program, or whatever you want to call it, comes into play and just says, hey, look what I can do with your failing infrastructure.
Look at the havoc I'm able to wreak on this system that you have because you don't know how to do it.
In that sense, Firestarter's motives can seem a little like... They don't seem quite as poignant to me as like the motives of the Puppet Master from the first one, where the Puppet Master is literally like, here I am in a cyberized body, I am a computer program, I want autonomy, like give it to me now. Like Firestarter's a little more like, it seems like Firestarter just wants to shake up the system a little bit and then like surreptitiously have its agenda kind of completed without just like being like, this is what I am and this is what I want.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I need to rewatch it a couple more times to fully understand what exactly Firestarter's actual motives were. Because we figured out who it was at the end and like the overall why they were doing it, but I still need to rewatch it and figure out what exactly each one of these incidents added to the culmination of their actual goal.
Yeah, it was the butler all along.
Because a lot of what happened because of Firestarter didn't really seem like it would make sense of why. Why they were doing that. Like, a lot of them were just isolated events throughout the Arise OVAs.
Yeah, I mean, I was like having trouble throughout the Arise OVA figuring out who Firestarter really was, like, because they don't really mention it until the last one, or like the third to last one, and
what did they call it before? It was the virus that was infecting them, and then they named it Firestarter or whatever. And then there was the false memory virus.
The false memory virus, right? Like, which is obviously something that Ghost in the Shell, the first movie, touched on very vividly, and like, I'll never forget that. Like, you have false memories. There's nothing we can fucking do about it. Like that's cool as hell. But
Yeah.
again, it's one of those things where like this is new. It's like false memories. Like what the fuck is that? Like what the hell do we do with that? Like no one knows what to do.
Well, before it was apparently false memories was something that was not supposed to happen, like under any circumstances. It was supposed to be a non-possible.
Yeah, a lot of really interesting things that you can, and that's what I really like Ghost in the Shell a lot for, is that you can continue to watch it and kind of read more into it and get more out of it. And I want to watch this movie again. I'm probably going to get it on Blu-ray or something like that. And
yeah, I'm definitely down to do that.
Yeah,
it was really good, and the animation and the art design for it were great. The music was good. The dubbing was actually really, really good, except for like the first part of the show, or the first beginning of it, where you had just the too many pauses because of the large sentences that were going on.
Now, so the version you watched was dubbed, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, was it the same U.S. voice actors as the standard Ghost in the Shell? Because I know Bato and actually Katsuragi or the main woman, she may not have been the same voice actor all the time, but Bato's been like the same over.
She wasn't really. Well, here's the thing. They used the same voice actors as in Arise. And interestingly enough, the woman for the 501st is actually voiced by the woman who voices Kusanagi in Standalone Complex. And I believe they replaced her voice actor for Ghost in the Shell 2.0 as well.
Huh.
Other than that, no, a lot of them are different voice actors than the original, and which makes sense because I don't think that her voice would fit the character of who Kusanagi is in Arise and the new movie, because she's younger and she's like a little more, a little
rebellious
more on fire,
and just
a little
hot-tempered.
more given to like risky behavior and whatnot. Not like she's going out and shooting heroin or cyber heroin in the streets or something like that. But like she's a little more hot to act than to actually sit and think about something. I believe her voice actress is the same one that they used for Tsunemori or whatever her name was from Psycho Pass.
Oh, yeah. The main woman?
Yeah.
Akane?
Yeah, the main character girl. Yeah.
Akane, something else, yeah.
I
thought the voice acting was very, very good.
I thought the voice acting was good. I was a little disappointed that they used the exact same music from Arise for the movie, but which I wasn't.
Well, it was the end of Arise.
Fan of to begin with.
It was the end of Arise. It made sense. It was the tie-up and the conclusion of Arise.
I didn't say it didn't make sense. I just said that I was a little disappointed because I didn't really like Arise's music as much as I did anything else. Like, Standalone Complex was Yoko Kanno, so...
Oh, she's fucking great no matter what, so... Yeah. Whatever happened to her?
So it's kind of hard to beat Yoko Kanno.
Does she still do music? Or is she kind of out?
Does she still do... I think she still does music. She still plays, like, Otakon every once in a while.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like she's still, like, an active recording thing. Well, I guess, to be fair, anime in general goes through shifts in what they actually want to hear as far as openings and closings, because they've definitely moved away from the more artsy stuff and, like, the longer, slow stuff and more gone the more of the, like, punk rock and just poppy rock stuff.
Well, they're gonna tweak it to, can I talk about one thing that really, not to get off topic, but one thing that really bothers me, and I know, Lucas, you mentioned this, was like, the opening to Psycho Pass is you said it's basically a spoiler for the series.
A lot of the openings spoil the fucking show. Like, the whole opening for Psycho Pass is just one big spoiler, honestly.
Yeah, the ending for Another basically gives you the order of which characters die. The manga, was it Rabbit Gout and Truth? Once you know which characters are which, the cover the fucking cover before you even open it. Spoils and tells you which characters die.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? Why are you doing that? Like, I don't get it. So
well, yeah,
if I'm picking up volume 2 and I see volume 5, I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah, it's like I no longer want to read this now.
Yeah, it's like, well, I wonder what happens to those characters. Like, it's strange that they've started doing that.
Well, it's not even necessarily that they've started doing that. They've been doing that for years. Like, one is Anohana. Anohana was horrible for that. That opening, if you didn't watch the first episode and you just saw the opening for it, that opening spoiled the entire premise of the first episode. Like,
maybe that might be the reason, though. That might be like, oh, if you didn't see the first episode, you can kind of gather from the intro what's going on. I kind of get that. But
that's something that they've been doing for years. I mean, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle theme explains everything that you need to know about the show.
Well, yeah, it's turtles and heroes in a half shell, turtle power.
You're telling me Raph's rude but a cool dude? Fucking what now?
What the hell? Oh, Raphael is cool but rude. Michelangelo is a party dude.
Yeah.
Or
heroes in a half shell, turtle power.
Which is, it's a full shell.
It's a show. It's a show. Let's leave it at that.
Look, me and Tyler were kind of watching little bits of it, and in the first episode where April O'Neil meets the turtles, she's like, "You're turtles," and they're like, "Yeah," and she's like, "I can't handle this," and faints.
Okay.
To be fair, that is the greatest reaction ever. Just like, I can't handle this, I'm going to bed. Like, that's basically what she says. I can't handle this, I'm going to bed.
Which is weird because it's like throughout the series as it progresses, April actually like does useful things. Like she's the one who's like, "Hey, I unplugged the machine." Or like, "Hey, I did the simple thing that you guys are all too busy waving your swords around to do." And so I'm useful woman. But like that whole like I am a woman, I must faint because things are too much for me to handle was just kind of like, it was absurdly comical in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you just made me think of Togusa and go, "Hey, look, I got him. I was useful."
Yeah. That was part of my notes.
In my opinion, Togusa and the Logicomas stole that show. They stole that movie. The Logicomas were fucking amazing, and Togusa was so fucking funny because they just kept ragging on him for being human. And like, remember, if you die, we can't fix you. It's like, we can't fix you if you die. Yeah. It's like, God damn it! It was just great.
So Tyler, what were you? No, sorry.
I actually wanted Tyler to talk a little bit about, because you were talking about how it spoils the opening. Like, talk a little bit about how you felt when the last episode of the OVA series was the first episode of the TV series for Arise.
Oh yeah, like I did not watch Arise the OVAs. I just saw that Alternative Architecture just had them all at once, then had 2 extra episodes. So like, we kind of all sat down and we're like, okay, like, let's watch this. I have not watched any of this before, so it's like, all right, we're going to do this. And what they did was, they had 5 OVAs, and then they just re-released it as a TV series. They used the 5th one first for like no reason. There's no reason for this, and like, it's like, well, it's like, it's not even like a thing where like I was trying to watch like, well, maybe like, it's something cool where they add things or take things out to make it a good introduction to the series. No, it's just this episode that's really, really out of place at the beginning of Alternative Architecture, and then it goes through the rest of the series, skips those 2 episodes they used at the beginning, and then goes to the 2 ones that they added for the television series that goes into the movie, which was just really, really silly for me.
Yeah, I don't approve of that choice. That was, like I said, I'd recommend watching the OVAs and then just go watch the last 2 episodes. But, yeah, that was just fucking stupid. Because it just brought you to a point where, really, like, it basically, no matter what happens in the other episodes, you know how it ends up. You know the final episode.
Yeah, and like, Tyler, I remember you saying, like, I kind of wanted to see how, like, it's like, oh, is Section 9 going to get together and stuff like that? Because now you already know. And it's like, on the
Well, to
one
be fair, if you've
hand,
seen the first movie, you already know Section 9 comes together. Let's be honest here.
yeah, if you know anything about Ghost in the Shell, you do, yeah. But then again, on the same
Or
token,
does it get disbanded and reformed as a different section? Spoilers.
Well,
No,
technically,
no,
Arise is before they join Section 9. So they are basically subcontractors for Section 9 in Arise.
Interesting. Okay.
So
Well,
it's
that
like,
makes the series totally different then. Never mind.
yeah, that's kind of the whole thing with Arise is they're like the formation of Section 9. But if you don't watch standalone, if you haven't seen Standalone Complex or really know like the Ghost in the Shell universe that well, that you don't know that Section 9 gets together at the end of the day. Like,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, really, why the fuck did you make episode 4 of the OVA series the first episode of the fucking television series? Like,
is there any, like, do you get, like, legitimately, do you have any idea why? Like,
the
is
only
there any
thing
pro or con?
the only thing that I can think is that they had to do something to it when they brought it to television, because that's really the only reason they made a television series out of it in the first place, was they wanted to have a television release of the OVAs, and they were too lazy to make a separate series. So other than maybe they had to change something to make it alternative architecture, or like, because like maybe the first episode of the OVA series isn't terribly exciting and they wanted all of
It's
the
definitely
excitement to
not.
go in one burst.
The first episode is definitely not going to be your attention grabber. It's definitely not going to be an attention grabber. So I can kind of see why they put the fourth one in. I'm against that choice, but I understand why. Because the first episode is not an attention grabber. It's a very slow roll. It's good, but if you're just coming into the show, it's probably going to put you off of it, just because it is kind of heavy and expository, and
Well, all of Ghost in the Shell is kind of heavy and expository.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's the whole
but
point.
if you don't have a whole lot of flashing lights and explosions, the average otaku is not going to watch it.
I don't think that's. I wish that wasn't true. Like, fucking. I wish that we had more shit that was like more thought provoking and stuff. That's why I always talk about Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah,
because
it's definitely one of the best
like
ones for that. Well, you heard the statistic I told you earlier about what the most anticipated show of the fucking season was, right?
No.
I put it in the chat. But
anyway.
The most anticipated show between male viewers was, I can't remember the Japanese name of the show, but the American title is This Order a Rabbit? And this is the most moe bullshit show you will ever watch. I saw the first season last year when it came out, and it was fucking awful.
Sorry, what's it called?
Is This Order a Rabbit? I'm getting a link for you now.
A rabbit? R-A-B-B-I?
Yep. It's fucking atrocious. It is this moe cutesy bullshit show, and it was the number one anticipated show for male viewers in Japan.
Oh, well, Japan. There you go. Yeah, because, they need something to do.
And it was the third or fourth for females.
Wait, third or fourth?
Yeah, that was what I was actually found surprising. The girls actually had better shit. Like some of the stuff they were anticipating for the season was a whole lot better than that.
Before we get off of Arise, I just do have a couple things. Like, one of the things was Togusa being useful. That was something that was really funny to me.
Look, I was actually useful.
Anyway, there's one specific point that I'd like to talk about as far as symbolism and other things in the movie. When Section 9, without Makoto, are meeting in an online place, it's this bar it's this bar that they all meet up at in cyberspace, and in the back of the room when they're talking about Makoto and like why she's doing what she's doing for plot reasons in the movie. I won't spoil them specifically. There is this picture of Joan d'Arc, and like I'm like, why would they have a Joan d'Arc painting in there? And like it kind of makes sense because you can draw a lot of comparisons between Kusanagi and Joan d'Arc, like really in this and like most other movies and media that she's in. Because at least in the first movie, because like she's kind of this robot that's like bringing excuse me, android cyborg that's she's on the cusp of like unlocking this new potential for cyborgs and other people. Like anyway, yeah, you understand. But yeah,
sort of.
I kind of made that comparison in my head. Yeah, pretty much, kind of, not really. Anyway, yeah, I thought it was a good little tiny symbolism thing that they put in there. Yeah, anyway, like I said, yeah, I like this movie a lot. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick, before we do end, Prison School Live.
Okay.
So, Funimation has released a live-action version of the critically acclaimed anime Prison School. I say critically acclaimed because it has won my favorite critical award, the "Oh my god, this show is stupid" award, given out by me annually.
No, boo! That was a bad joke. Boo!
Yeah, but the premise of the show is 5 male students go to an all-girls academy, and they are caught peeping into the girls' bath because they're totally not going to get caught as the only men on campus, and are basically caught and then thrown into the school's prison for a month to serve a sentence for their crime. And the last line of the first episode of the live action was, "This is like a prison school," and roll credits. It was literally the worst piece of acting I've ever seen. And I love bad movies. I'm a Bruce Campbell fan, for crying out loud.
Are you sure that's not what they're going for? Or are they... I don't know.
It is clearly supposed to be a humorous show. And I think... I've seen the first episode of the anime, or the first or second of the anime. I think I might have watched it with Tyler.
Yeah.
It's stupid, but it's whatever.
The whole show it's a giant ecchi nightmare.
Well, to be fair, I mean, what was it? The Dusk Maiden of Amnesia was kind of like, it's like when it wasn't on the plot, it was a giant ecchi nightmare. Like, which was, I don't know, like, I'm alright with some ecchi stuff. Like, if it's like to the point where it like literally just gets in the way of like an interesting kind of plot, then it's like, I suppose I would rather watch ecchi filler than slice of life filler.
Well, it depends on what's going on. Like, I mean, filler is still filler. But yeah, if it's like, I don't know. I sometimes have a lot of, for some reason, I not always, but a lot of times I have problems with fan service. And just like, oh no, she fell down at her candy show. It's like, I think it's kind of like, almost kind of, I'm not going to say insulting to your viewer, but it's just like, that's dumb. Do you think I like that? Because I don't.
But the problem is, Cameron, they're not doing it for us. They're doing it for the otaku in Japan who actually do love that shit.
But the thing is, it's something where it's like, it starts making me, it's like, I don't know, you try and defend anime, it's like, no, it's just like any other medium. Like, there are good shows and bad shows. And then there's a show you like, and it's like, it does something like that. And it's like, now, does it think that that's what I want? And they're just wrong, or is the worst option? There's a lot of people that like that.
Unfortunately, I think it's the worst option at this phase.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like half the reason I kept watching Sword Art Online was all of the unnecessary butt shots, like
There
and
is a
camera
lot of them.
toes or whatever.
There is a lot of
There
them.
is quite a few of them, and at least in Sword Art Online, it's a little more like they don't there isn't like a sound effect that goes along with it. Like
Wow!
it's
A little
just
bit
like
of a
in your
slide
face.
whistle. Something like that.
Yeah, it's just like it's like the butts in your face or whatever you want to look at's in your face, and it's cute, and then it goes away.
I'm willing to accept that more than the ridiculously oversized tits, and shit like that.
How old are you? I'm 7, and it's like a double D. It's like, fucking really? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone's like this in elementary school.
One thing I've always used to not really defend to some of my guys like I talk to outside of the anime stuff, and that is it usually, with the exception of the few horrible shows, you get the shows like Ghost in the Shell or, in my opinion, Guilty Crown or stuff like that tell a story in a way that you couldn't do in traditional media.
Yeah.
It's the way their storytelling is a lot better in a lot of the shows. Really not necessarily in anything that I'm watching currently, but they can tell a story better because they can put it in animation, and it's a lot easier to visually show it than the amount of bad CG or live action they could do it in.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also something where you can have something which more understandably breaks the fourth wall, or can kind of shift from like a more grounded series to like slowly slipping into absurdity. Like, I guess kind of, if you go with like something like Paranoia Agent, where it's like, at the beginning it's very, very grounded, it's pretty grounded, but then like, as the characters kind of either lose their minds or whatever, things just start going more and more haywire, and like, you get this feeling of like reality slipping away from people.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling.
There's one show. I'm going to use this week as going to be my week to recommend something to watch, and then next week could be either Dan or Tyler, since Cameron did the last one.
What was my recommendation?
Terror in Resonance.
Oh, for the group to watch. Gotcha. Go for it.
I'm trying to look it up right now, real quick.
Try and make it short.
Well, this is something you don't have to watch the whole thing. It's one of those things I just kind of want you to watch a couple episodes of it, get the idea behind it.
Dead Aggressor Exodus?
Fafnir Dead Aggressor. It's the real name is like something of the Azure Fafnir.
2150 AD. The battle against the silicon-based Festum, I can't read
Festum.
From outer space, it reaches a new phase. Fragments of the North Pole mirror scattered throughout the world.
This is the first season. There's a second season going on right now.
Is that good?
This is literally my favorite show of the year, because the way this does it really does. At least the second season especially. It encapsulates the emotion that it's trying to show so extremely well. Like it's giving you basically, this is what happens at the end world situation where it's the last bastions of humans try to fight for their survival, and the show does a really, really good job of just portraying that human emotion of like almost hopelessness and like overwhelming odds. And like my opinion, this has got some of the best music for a show, in my opinion, that works really well situational for what they're trying to show.
Well, time to check it out. Yeah.
This is technically the second season. The first season, they're kind of standalone, so you don't have to watch the first one. But there's gonna be. I'm gonna tell you, there's gonna be some stuff you're not gonna understand, because I don't even understand it. And I've been watching the whole season, and from the so there's gonna be stuff that you kind of just gotta go with and just go okay. But this is right now probably next to the new Gundam that's out. my like most anticipated show of the week to watch, just because it does at least the second season of this does such a great job with the emotion and just the feelings you get from the show.
I gotta go.
Yep.
So anyway, do enjoy.
All right.
All right.
And this is
man.
this is Bakarama.
Do-do-do.
Your waifu is trash.